All right. I guess most of you have heard about the change in the $20 bill with Andrew Jackson being pushed from the front of the bill to the back of the bill, and Harriet Tubman placed on the front of the bill. And the bill is not going to go into circulation until 2020. If I had my way, as soon as the bill was ready, it needs to be put into circulation immediately. But that's just my opinion. For those of you who don't know the history of Andrew Jackson, basically this man was an anti-banking president. As a matter of fact, he totally dismantled the only federal bank of the United States when he got into office. But more importantly than that, this man was responsible for the death of thousands of Native Americans. He was the one who instituted an act that forced Native Americans out of the southeastern United States and forced them to walk out of the southeast and over into the Oklahoma, the area which wasn't a state at that point, obviously, the Oklahoma territories outside of the actual control of the U.S. And I believe the term was the Trail of Tears, where so many Native Americans basically died. So this guy was also a slave owner, but I'm going to put that in second place behind what he did to Native Americans. But there are a lot of people, obviously on the right, i.e. Stupid ass Ben Carson, who doesn't know history, Donald Trump, obviously, who doesn't know history, and various others. I'm going to try to cut in a clip if Roland doesn't show it here from CNN, where he makes his comments.
Y'all, guess what? Pull your $20 bills out. There's a white dude on there you ain't gonna see him for the last time. Andrew Jackson, former president, is getting the boot from the $20 bill yesterday. Secretary of Treasury Jack Lew made the announcement that Harriet Tubman is going to be the new face of the $20 bill. A former slave and leading abolitionist will replace the slave-holding and the slave trader Andrew Jackson. And so he also was the guy, of course, who pretty much tried to kill damn near all Native Americans in the country. By 2020, it will actually debut in America in time for the centennial of women's suffrage and the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. Also, that will be 2 years. Actually, that'll be 1 year. They should actually drop this in 2019, which is the 400th anniversary when the first slave arrived in America in Jamestown, Virginia. Of course, that was a huge campaign to put a woman on front of the $10 bill. But that was Hamilton, and because of the success of the Broadway production, Hamilton got some street cred, and so he stays on the $10 bill, so Jackson gets the boot. Some folks not happy, so I came across this video from Greta Van Susteren of Fox News. This is what she had to say.
So go off the record. Don't you wonder why some people don't just use their heads? Well, the Obama administration did it again, went stupid for no reason. Here's what's happening. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew is creating a fight, 100% completely unnecessary fight, by booting President Andrew Jackson from the $20 bill and replacing him with a woman, abolitionist Harriet Tubman. You all know I'm a feminist, love to see women acknowledged for the great things they do to contribute to our nation, and Harriet Tubman did, and she deserves it. But what I don't get is this. Rather than dividing the country between those who happen to like the tradition of our currency and want President Andrew Jackson to stay put, and those who want to put a woman on a bill, it's so easy to keep everyone happy. We could put a woman on a bill, Tubman, acknowledge her courage, and not stir up the country, but give Tubman her own bill, like a $20 $25 bill. We could use a $25 bill. Put her picture on that, we could all celebrate. That's the smart and easy.
All right, so I'm really sure that the Native Americans really are tremendously happy about Andrew Jackson being removed from this, since he was responsible for the deaths of a lot of their ancestors. Now I'm going to try to bring in Ben Carson in a minute, but I'm going to let Roland finish out what he's saying.
But no, some people don't think, would rather gratuitously stir up conflict in the nation. That is so awful. And yes, dumb.
All right, now he brings his point, but the bottom line is, as far as I'm concerned, here's what I think has also happened. I think, first of all, I think it's also stupid for Treasury Secretary Jack Lew to say, well, we're going to boot Jackson from the front of the bill, we're going to keep him on the back of the bill. I mean, if you're going to boot him, get him the hell off. But also, I think what this has done, this has also forced a lot of people who had no idea about President Andrew Jackson's history to all of a sudden go, oh.
Didn't know that.
Didn't know that. Yeah, I think it's going. I'm down with it.
There's a lot of people who are very aware of President Jackson's history and quite comfortable with it. That's what I've learned on Twitter overnight. Wow. President Jackson's history doesn't seem to bother a lot of people out there. I think what bothers people more, as Greta just outlined, is the idea of a black female replacing a white male hero. Right. And that's why he's got to be on the back of the bill, and that he's not off the bill entirely, which he should be.
I think you got to go back to 1928, which is when these decisions were made as to, what was going to be on the currency and that kind of thing. And Andrew Jackson, despite his tremendous flaws, and they are tremendous, was considered a man of the people and a populist and this kind of thing. And that's how he ended up on there.
Who also was against a central banking system.
Oh, no, yeah, he was.
And he's owed some damn money.
He killed the U.S. bank that was in it at the time, and then he also wanted gold instead of paper money. So here's a guy who probably shouldn't have, it was a bad decision, let's be real about it, but that's why he was put on there. He was considered a populist and a man of the people and that kind of thing. That's why he's on. So let's change it. I don't have a problem. Who has a big problem with moving him off? For somebody like Harriet Tubman. It's interesting to me, though, that how far you had to go to find a black woman of that time, or any woman of that time who was worthy, right? I mean, you had to look around to find, because they weren't in positions of power to be founding mothers, as it were.
Well, yeah.
All right, now I'm gonna tag in a person who has a problem with removing Jackson from the bill. Now, here is a guy who said that Jackson shouldn't be kicked off of the bill.
Ben Carson said on Fox Business that Jackson shouldn't be kicked off the front of the 20.
I love Harriet Tubman. I love what she did. But we can find another way to honor her. Maybe a $2 bill.
Ben Carson is the biggest goddamn coon that he just infuriates me. I mean, he has no pride in himself, let alone pride in his people. So, I mean, Dr. Ben, you need to get off TV, stop commenting about stuff that you don't have any knowledge of. You have no knowledge of history. You're basically turning into a buffoon.
As it were.
Well, yeah, because they were actually
Divided the country at all. I mean, we're defending a guy that had the forced removal of over hundreds of thousands of Native Americans, and they've been decimated and completely, gotten the short end.
Is this really dividing the country? Here's what I think is interesting. I think is interesting here. There's this whole deal that. Like, you can't change something.
Right.
Yeah, you can. I mean, this is our tradition. It's just like, this to me, just the stupid deal of, you put your hand over your heart with the Pledge of Allegiance, or when the Star-Spangled Banner's playing. Okay, that started, what was it, because Reagan started doing it? And people were like, oh my God, that's tradition. No, dude just did it. So I can do it or not. But we get so locked into, don't change anything, this is our history. No, it's his story. It's not our history.
Nobody is comfortable with change. We already know that. When Barack Obama got into office, people were really upset. And this whole, what is this phrase of taking back our country? People already feel like This country has gone in a direction that is just so haywire that we need to bring it right back. And I think, of course, having a black woman who freed slaves on the front of a bill and booting a president to the back of the bus, essentially, is disturbing for a lot of people. And I think who Greta is talking about are those people who are very comfortable with knowing his history.
I don't think it's the change issue as much as it's the Obama administration making the decision. So the fact that it's the Obama administration making a decision has us with Ben Carson last night talking about, well, she should be on the $3 bill or the $2 bill or let's create another bill or whatever it is.
I think
he said $2. But he said, you know, he effectively was arguing that she should not be she should be on a lesser bill, or that Jackson's okay. There's no argument there that's pro-Jackson. It's just that this president is making the decision, and that's what really bothers people.
Well, I mean, this really brings up why elections matter and why people matter, why people need to get involved in the process. And I mean, we need more black people running for Senate. We need more black people at all levels of government. You know, it's true.
But here's to me why I'm down with it. Should I take my iPad? Y'all, we had this author on the book, Empire of Cotton, A Global History, by Sven Beckert. And what this book lays out, and again, we had the interview, you can go on my website, RolandSMartin.com, and get the podcast. What he laid out, that it was cotton. It was cotton that established America as the economic force. You had Charles Payne on Fox Business. We got into it because he tried to claim the Industrial Revolution. I said, dude, where did the money? I said, where did the money come from that powered the Industrial Revolution?
Right.
It came from cotton. We supplied 91% of the world's cotton. So to me, it makes a hell of a lot of sense to have a former slave on some money, because frankly, the reason America is the economic power it is, damn it, is because of slavery.
That part is left out. I'm anxious to see what the portrait will be depicted as. I'm hoping for something with her 6-shooter. Okay, I'm proud. You know?
Absolutely. All right then, so final comment?
I'm happy. Long time coming. I'm excited. I can't wait.
It's
The
about
mug.
time.
The mug.
It's about time.
It's about time.
And change,
But you know,
go slowly.
But also, people gonna be a little bit more careful throwing around 20s. Like, hey, you do that.
Rap videos are going to be different now. What 20s?
It's gonna be all about the Tubbins.
Oh, let me go to a break.
That was a good one. It's going to be all about the Tubmans. But there has been a lot of back and forth, especially on Twitter. And I'll let you figure out who was the most upset about moving Jackson to the back of the bill. But that should be an easy call. But you get people in our own community like Ben Carson, who basically just has no black pride and no sense of wanting to honor people. He always seems to take up for white people and people who shouldn't even be taken up for. Some white people, obviously, we should take up for them. You know, they've accomplished great things. This guy, number one, he was an anti-banking guy. So what the hell is his face doing on a banking note? I mean, that's an oxymoron. But anyway, you decide for yourself.